What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about crazy people, Karens, and all that kind of stuff. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe for more Reddit content if you haven't already, and let's get into today's stories. Today I effed up by creating an alter ego as a bit, and this alter ego now shows up on my credit report and background check. To back up about 10 years, I created this fake persona as a joke, to mess with my boss at the time who had a good sense of humor but was insanely gullible. He was frantically trying to hire someone for a sales position and wasn't getting any applicants, and said I'd hire just about anyone right now. So I said, okay. I created this ridiculously outlandish but believable resume, with a bunch of funny titles and job responsibilities for this southern redneck named Ricky, who was the assistant to the VP of the local janitorial operations at Chuck E. Cheese, and was a semi-retired rock star, and an ex-pit stop mechanic for Dale back in the day. I created a whole crazy backstory on a cover letter and applied for the job, but made it sound almost believable. I even went as far as to trim my beard down to a Hulk Hogan stash, and I have this mullet wig I used for a Joe Dirt costume in middle school, and sent him an email a few days after applying with a really cringe, candid headshot my girlfriend at the time took and sent it to him. In the emails, told him I was gonna roll up to the office soon on the spot for an interview, because, quote, he would have been stupid not to hire me. He had no idea it was me, so I started messing with him even more and calling his office phone doing my deep southern accent. Not hard because I grew up in the South and have an accent in me, so I basically drop my voice an octave and do a Blake Shelton impression. And telling him I was ready to work, and he was mildly concerned this weirdo was going to show up one day. I told absolutely nobody I was doing this and was dying hearing him talk about this weird dude who keeps calling him. Then on a Friday before a holiday, I came into the office with the wig, stash, jean jacket, my boots, and an Ozzy Osbourne shirt I found at Goodwill, and kept in character for most of the day. Best work day ever. The rest of the company found out about this and thought it was the funniest thing ever, as did my friends and family, so it became kind of a bit and evolved into this redneck alter ego thing. We had this office that was repurposed as a storage room nobody went into, and they put a nameplate on the door for Ricky. And from what I understand, that was Ricky's office for several years, even after I left. From there, I created a Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, etc. over a period of several years. I'd just post some stupid crap here and there like crazy redneck stories he had and horrendous grammar, random YouTube videos, and just random stuff. I've just kept it going because I've had fun with it. My friends will contact me and say, "What's ol' slick Rick been getting into these days?" And I got really proficient at Photoshop, so I'd put him into pictures and create a funny backstory as to how he got there. It has been a really good way for me to connect with a lot of friends in different places I don't see often anymore, and makes me happy I know it makes them smile. It got to a point where it started to overlap and I let the hillbilly hell-raising energy carry over into my normal life a bit. Nothing wrong with bringing a little laughter into people's lives, and I still think it's hilarious making stuff up for it. His slogan is mopping floors, drinking cores. I bought a C8 Corvette a few years ago and really played into the trailer park Ferrari jokes. But it makes me really happy this stupid bit brings laughter to the lives of people I care about a decade later, and I literally cackle when I create stupid scenarios and posts for him. I'll go look through them sometimes and I'm like, how the hell did I even come up with that? Anyways, I started using his namesake for random things. Burner emails, things I don't want to sign up for using my name, referrals for services, etc. Basically, I signed him up for everything I didn't want to, or as an extra account that doesn't require a social security number. Old Ricky has a ton of Starbucks rewards, that's for damn sure. This was all fun and games until today. My wife and I are currently trying to sell our current home, and we put in an offer that was accepted this morning. When working with the lender today, I have a credit monitoring program and I called and asked a few verification questions since I have my credit. And one of them came up and asked for known associates. And Ricky came up and I was like, what? After looking at my credit report, when my wife and I got married 2 years ago, we ended up renting out her home to this really kind older gentleman who still lives there. However, on not only my credit report, but my wife's, it shows Ricky as the tenant and a known associate on background checks and searches. It also shows him as a co-tenant at a corporate apartment I rented 5 years ago at every credit agency. He apparently even shows up in his own background checks minus a social. I'm assuming this is due to data mining stuff, But this is specifically problematic because when I brought this up to our lender and said, that's a problem, as we intend to keep the rental, somehow our actual tenant doesn't even show up for them and they just see Ricky. It was very difficult to articulate Ricky as someone who doesn't exist, but we have an actual renter who does exist, but doesn't show up as a tenant other than the lease documents we have. And a commenter here asked, how in the heck did it get on your credit report? NOP responded, my assumption is data mining, and it just associated him with me based on IP addresses and shared info. I know there had been a few times I signed up for like a rewards program and I put his name and email and my personal address, or that house's address. I never even put anything that even implied he was a tenant, but I honestly can't say I'm shocked because Ricky has signed up for a lot of stuff and subscriptions that don't go to my inbox. My mother-in-law called my mother ugly, so I added all her ugly photos to my wedding album. I just got married and found out that during the wedding, my mother-in-law and my actual mother got into a small incident. To summarize, my mother-in-law made some snide comments about my mother not being dressy enough for the wedding, and insinuated that she looked ugly. My mother is quite a quiet woman, so she didn't say much, but offered a half-hearted compliment about my mother-in-law's dress. My mother was wearing our culture's traditional wear, and everyone else thought that she looked lovely. My partner and I also thought she looked great. I only found out about this the day after the wedding, and I was mad. I told my husband, and he was very angry, and ready to go and confront his mother about this. But I told him not to. For context, his mother is quite unreasonable and difficult to deal with, and has been rather unpleasant. She's very vain and obsessed with her appearance. Knowing that, I wanted to get some sort of vengeance for my mom. I dropped my wedding photographer a message with a short request. I asked for every single ugly and terrible photo of my mother-in-law to be edited and added to our deliverables, and to remove any decent shots of her. The photographer had also mentioned previously that there may be some skin touch-ups or beautification effects added to people in the photos. I requested for there to be absolutely none done for my mother-in-law. I don't know what I expected, but boy did my photographer deliver. There were pictures of her yelling at kids, another photo with food in her teeth, and so on. Not going to lie, I giggled a little. Anyway, she saw the photos and she's upset. I feel a little bad for her because the photos are up for everyone to see. She demanded that I take some of them down, and I told her that I would need to ask the photographer to, and that might take a few days. My partner feels quite guilty and caught in the middle, and he thinks that I shouldn't have done this and I should have just let him confront his mother. He also dropped by my mom's house to speak with her about the incident and offer his apologies for it. I still stand by my decisions though. Nobody messes with my mother and makes her feel bad about herself, especially on my wedding day. Jerk steals from my trunk, then threatens to call the police on me. We got a new fridge yesterday. It's one of those humongous double-door monstrosities, and of course it came with a humongous amount of styrofoam and cardboard that I need to get rid of. And the quickest way for me to get rid of it all is shoving it into my car and driving to the municipal waste depot. So I start cutting things apart and bringing them to my car, which is parked in my driveway. Unfortunately, it's so much unwieldy trash that I have to go 5 times to my car. I go on the first trip, open my car's trunk, and load it up. For convenience sake, I leave the trunk open. Yes, it's right next to the sidewalk, but I live in a pretty safe area, and I'm only loading trash, so if anyone wants to help themselves to some styrofoam, sure, why not? I go back inside and bring the next 2 loads out to my car. On my 3rd trip, some boomer stands next to my car. I don't know him. He probably doesn't know me, but he's in my driveway and right next to my car, so seemingly interested in talking to the owner of said car, unfortunately me. And so it is. The next time I approach my car with both my hands full of styrofoam and shove it into the trunk, he says, "Excuse me." He asks whether this is my car, which I tell him it is, and he's immediately launching into a tirade about how I must be crazy leaving it open, and whether I want to invite criminals into the neighborhood and how irresponsible I am. I don't care about your opinion, get off my property. I yell and don't wait for him to reply, but storm back inside to get the last bits of plastic wrap. For the last time, I get back to my car and the dude is thankfully missing. And so is a piece of styrofoam from my trunk, the base plate that the fridge stood on, basically the largest and most unwieldy piece of them all. Did he take it? I look around for a while, thinking he might have thrown it somewhere, but it's gone. We shrug, get into the car, and drive to the depot. On our way back from there, my wife and I go for some lunch and shop some groceries. All in all, we were gone for almost 2 hours. The moment we come home and step out of my car, the guy storms across the street with the missing styrofoam piece in hand, visibly angry at me for some reason. He immediately tries to go off at me by ranting about how he's now taught me a lesson about keeping my car locked, that I should be lucky that it was only him and not some actual criminal, and that I'm getting my property back. Once again, I tell him to leave my property and also that I will call the police if I ever see him here again. He says he's happy to never talk to me again once I take back what is mine. I replied that I will not take the piece back. He threatens to call the police on me for not taking the styrofoam back. I tell him I'd gladly tell the police about how I just had some stuff stolen from my car and that the perpetrator was right here. He huffs, then throws the styrofoam at my feet and stomps off like a little toddler. My mom just tried to use a lighter to prove there wasn't a gas leak. There was. I opened my upstairs bedroom door to a strong smell of gas. I went downstairs to find my mom, 60 years old, had left the gas hob on in the kitchen. She'd been cleaning it and knocked it. I turned it off, opened all the doors, and asked her if she could smell gas. She said no. She's always had issues with her sense of smell and is aware she can't smell very well. I told her it does, enough for me to have smelled it upstairs, and went back up to open some windows. Less than a minute later, I heard her closing the downstairs doors. I rushed down. She said it's going to get too cold and continues to close doors. I open some back up and tell her it literally stinks of gas and she needs to keep them open, to which she rushes to a cupboard, takes out a lighter and tries to flick it on. I take it off her and she angrily says she's going to prove I'm just being dramatic and turn the kitchen gas burners on. I had to physically block the doorway as she tried to push past to the burners, and then watch her like a hawk while the place aired out. All the while she was shouting at me that I was again being dramatic and it was safe. Soon my dad came home and said he could still smell gas, and I explained what had happened. We're getting a plug-in gas monitor. For context, she is a healthy woman, but has always been extremely stubborn. This was just a new level of what the f***, and a reminder that some people really are just terrible in potential emergency situations. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button as well for more Reddit stories. So I'm out of here, take care, and I'll see you next time.